Howdy folks, welcome to another beautiful day out here in West Vancouver. It was very misty this morning, but the mist cleared and we've got a beautiful sunny day. Actually, at one stage they put a mist warning out. I'm not sure what that means. It was very, very misty. You couldn't see in front of you like a couple of meters. But anyway, so today I want to talk about something that, some people have asked me about, and it's politics in Canada. How does it compare to politics in South Africa, I suppose? And you see all these news stories about Trudeau and all the political nonsense going on, and the reality is that politics in Canada is just the same as politics everywhere in the world. We've got these politicians that these days all politicians are trying to be movie stars or famous or whatever, and I think they kind of lose control or lose the concept of what they are trying to achieve. So is politics great in Canada? No. I don't know, for some reason I ended up on a feed where I was viewing a bunch of parliamentary sessions, and it's just absolutely stupid. I mean, it just blows my mind. You have these people standing there in Parliament and they each get like a certain period of time to ask questions or to speak, and then one person would be going, "Oh, Mr. Trudeau or Mrs. Friedland," or whoever, one of the opposition parties, and they'd be going, "How much did the ArriveCan app cost?" And then the other person, the answer should be fairly simple, $54 million. But that's never the answer that comes out. The answer is always, well, we created the ArriveCan app to keep Canadians safe. And then the other guy goes, well, that's not what I asked. What I asked is a number. How much did it cost? And then they go, yeah, it was for the best of all the Canadian people. It's just, you just got to watch some of these parliamentary sessions and it will blow your damn mind. I just don't understand politics these days. And don't get me wrong, it's not the Trudeau government or the leftist government, although one of the words I've heard very often lately, or one of the phrases I'm hearing more and more around when I speak to people everywhere is fuck Trudeau. People are not happy with the current Prime Minister and the current government, I'll be honest. They've just gone and screwed up the financial side of it, or that's the perception across the board. But then, like I said, I also have to tell you that I listened to the opposition to Pierre Poilievre, which is the conservative guy, and he's just as full of crap. Yes, he's aiming at some of the other stuff, but it's just like, I don't know how to put it. Politicians these days, you ask they ask him, so what do you think about this? And then he's like, yeah, well, this and this and this, and the answer. And then every single sentence or everything he says, it's always like, yeah, and the Trudeau government over the last 8 years messed it all up. It's like everything is everybody else's fault. It's like there's always jabbing at each other. And whether it's Jagmeet Singh or Pierre Poilievre or Justin Trudeau, they all just the same. I really honestly think what we should be doing is we should figure out a better way to run politics. Because these politicians, they're just there for the power. You have to be a certain kind of psychopath, I guess, to be a politician. Because, let's face it, I got a little bit rattled because I had one internet troll. Can you imagine being a politician? You just have people throwing crap at you, throwing shade at you from all angles, regardless of who you are and what you do. And you just got to deal with this. And I think you need to be a certain type of psychopath to actually deal with it and to handle that kind of pressure. But anyway, that's besides the point. I really think we should find a better way for politics these days. Honestly, it's just absolutely nuts. I don't know how these people get anything done because nobody can give anybody a straight answer. And then, of course, corruption. Yes, there's corruption. There's a lot of trials going on now, or parliamentary committees looking into the ArriveCan app. For instance, in ArriveCan, there was this one company, GC, I don't know, whatever they were called, GC Strategies or something like that. They have two people, no office. So it's two guys, no office, no anything. And they got paid $11 million for the ArriveCan app. What was their job? the government gave them the money and they outsourced the job to other people. So they went and hired developers to create they went and selected developers to create the application, and then they got paid by the government $11 million for that. And the government paid those guys, and now there's lots of stuff coming out. I mean, these guys actually, what they did was they inflated, so they would get an invoice from the subcontractors, and then they would inflate the invoice and pass it on to the government, and then they would, scale the cash in the middle, just take some extra cash. They took some of the people that worked on the thing, they took their CVs and embellished it so that they could charge more per hour for these guys without these guys' consent. So yeah, lots of whistleblowers coming forward now with government corruption. So for those in South Africa, I know we have a lot of corruption in the South African government, but rest assured, it's not much better out here in Canada. That's the same kind of crap going on. I think the bigger overall problem is politicians in general. That's where the big issue lies. It's a little bit, I had to kind of move away from that, because watching that Parliamentary channel it will do your nut in, man. You'll go crazy if you have to listen to all of these politicians and the crap that they get, that they speak. And then of course you have the media that takes everything and rips it out of context and blows it out of context. I've also kind of stopped watching the news as far as that goes. I'll wait for the election. Hopefully by then I've got my citizenship, and then I'll make an informed decision. We were chatting the other day, actually, what we should do is you should actually make an app. All the technology is there already. Imagine you have on your cell phone, I mean, your cell phone knows who you are. When you look at it, it opens your cell phone. So you can have like a little voting app or a polling app on your cell phone that will only accept votes from you, because it will look at you and go, hey, yeah, that is Kali. Kali, we are now going to vote on whether the carbon tax, oh, that's something, I'll get to that just now, on whether you want to pay a carbon tax on everything that you use in this country. And then what you have is on the app, you have the question, this is what we're going to vote on. But before you can vote, here's a guy that's explaining why we need the carbon tax, and here's a guy that's explaining why we don't need the carbon tax. And you got to watch both videos. You got to understand why this guy says you have to have the carbon tax, and you got to understand why this guy says you don't want the carbon tax, and then only after that you can vote. And I mean, it's like foolproof. You'd use that together with blockchain technology, and nobody can tamper with the votes. And there you go, you've got a vote. Now, instead of having to vote for Justin Trudeau or Pierre Poilievre, you can vote for the stuff that you believe in. You can be like, well, I like the way Justin runs the country, but I think his carbon tax is crap, so I vote against the carbon tax. And then Justin must just be like, oh man, my carbon tax, they don't want it. Okay, well, I'll have to scrap it. So in other words, your prime minister is more of a manager. We hire a CEO to run the country, and he must just do whatever the people vote for. I know it's not perfect, because people are obviously not perfect, but still, just a thought. Back to the carbon tax. So one thing that's been absolutely nuts, and that's something that's changing here, people are not slowly, really fast, turning against this whole thing and the whole Liberal government with their carbon taxes. So they implemented a carbon tax. Everything you pay, the fuel that you use to light your homes or heat your homes, the gas, everything has now got a carbon tax. And they recently figured out that that carbon tax makes up about, the inflation rate last month was about 3.8%, I think, and 0.6% of that was made up by the carbon tax. So it's the government charging an extra additional tax, and they call it the carbon tax because it's part of the green agenda, and the idea is that they would use this money to decrease Canada's carbon footprint, which is, I mean, theoretically a really good idea, but practically it's stupid, because the first thing is, they're not using the money effectively. Since they implemented the carbon tax, Canada actually hasn't dropped down in their carbon emissions. Well, in 2020 it dropped down quite a bit because obviously nobody traveled, but now it's still in the same range. As a matter of fact, it's still going up. And yes, there's more people coming in. But then again, what are you doing? You're giving billions of dollars of extra tax to the government, and you're going, hey, would you guys please use this in the most effective way to cut our carbon emissions? And then it's the same guys that pays 2 people $11 million just to go and hire a few people. So yeah, you can see the problem there, I guess. So yeah, the Canadian carbon tax is currently a very, very hot topic. People are so sick and tired of paying for this. And then, of course, there's a bunch of other arguments. Everybody's like, okay, so Canada has more than enough oil, more than enough gas. We've got more than enough energy in the country to make energy and fuel and stuff actually really cheap in Canada. But for the last 8 years, we've blocked pretty much all development, no more new pipelines. The oil and gas industry is struggling to get permits approved and stuff like that. The government is just blocking it all in the green agenda. And whether you believe in the green agenda or not, the reality is everything is getting blocked around that. But that doesn't help. I mean, the whole green agenda thing is a little bit of a bigger problem, if you ask me, because it doesn't help that, what's the saying, cut off your nose to spite your face. It's like, okay, well, we're going to stop using it and we're going to stop polluting, but the rest of the world just doesn't. China, India, whoever else, I mean, around the world, they're just pumping crap in the air and be like, and of course, the funny thing is a whole bunch of the stuff that now can't be made in Canada because it's too expensive, because of the carbon taxes and the levies and all of the environmental levies and stuff, we now go and buy from those places that don't have the same regulations. So they just carry on polluting and we're cleaning it. I mean, if we want to do that as the earth, we all kind of have to do it together. So I don't know how that's going to work out, man. But anyway, so yeah, carbon tax is a big, big sore point here in Canada. People are so sick and tired of that nonsense. And just all of these extra taxes and all of these extra costs that they have to pay for the, you know, green agenda. Anyway, what else is there? Oh, of course, yeah, while we're speaking about politics, there is the one thing that in politics is also a little bit flawed, you know. So the Liberal government didn't win outright. So Justin Trudeau didn't win outright. The Conservatives and the Liberals, none of them won outright. Now you have this extra little party, Jagmeet Singh, with the NDP. Now the NDP is pretty much, I guess, I haven't done a lot of research, so don't take my word for it. But as far as I can tell in broad terms, the NDP is almost, you know, it's kind of a communist party. It's a very, very, very socialist. So it's very, very far left leaning. So what happened was, in order for Justin Trudeau and the Liberal government to be in charge and to run the country, they had to make a deal with the NDP. So now you have some tiny little party that got, I don't know, 8% of the vote or 7% of the vote, and they are the kingmakers. They are the ones that decide. So if they go with the left is in charge. If they go with the right is in charge. So they are the kingmakers. And kingmakers come at a price, you know. So now you're sitting with a situation where this little party dictates a lot of the stuff that happens in the country. You know, look, not everything. I mean, they obviously, but the bottom line is they've got an outsized vote for what they actually achieved. You know, you have 7 or 8% of the vote, but you are now getting to sit in on the big boys, and you have like almost a vetoing vote where you can make rules and make deals. So it's kind of an outsized power that they have. It's the same, I mean, in Germany, it's not, don't get me wrong, politics in Canada is not much different from anywhere else in the West. Same in Germany. In Germany, you have the Green Party that's the kingmaker. And the Green Party is the one that's been wanting to switch off all the nuclear power plants, which they've now finally succeeded. So I read recently that Germany is now burning an outsized amount of coal to power their economy because, no more nuclear power plants. Very smart move there. Any which way, I know there's going to be a lot of comments around this, and you know what, I just got to the point where I have to start talking about everything. I've always been like, I don't want to get into politics, and because people are going to be, you're going to, what is the saying, you can't please all of the people all of the time. So, there's obviously going to be opinions. What I do ask though is, if you have opinions, put it in the comments, and just don't insult and swear and just say crap. If you have an opinion or you have a logical point, then put it there so people can understand it and interact with it. It was so funny, actually. One last little story. It was so funny, actually. I was sitting down at the Capilano River a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago, sitting there trying to do a video. And this lady walks up. So it's just like, older lady, late 60s, early 70s, I would assume, grey-haired, nicely dressed older lady, a grandma, So she asked me about the camera, and we chatted about it a little bit. And the next thing she asks about politics and what do I think of the government and the carbon tax and the what was it? Oh, the other big contentious point at the moment is this whole gender identity story that's also getting a little bit out of hand. But any which way, so she asked me where I stand on this, and as a parent, I am not for this whole gender identity thing in the schools. This is who I am. I don't think that young kids should be indoctrinated or really exposed to stuff like that. I have no problem with people that want to live in their own genders or want to pick their genders. It's fine by me. But I don't think we should get it done this early in life. A kid doesn't know what they want. But anyway, so I digress. The bottom line is, so she asked me about this, and I go, yeah, I'm not for that. I think that it's going a little bit too far. And then the next minute, this lady, she is obviously against it. She's conservative, she's right-wing, and she starts and she's like going on about how Christina Friedland is a communist, and she's swearing and dropping F-bombs, and she's like, she gets really agitated, and she's like, and I'm on her side. I think a lot of the same things as she does, well, not a lot, but some of the same things as she does, but she gets so un-grandma-like, let me put it that way. She gets so un-grandma-like. She's like, oh, define, rah, 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 and swearing and go, and I'm like, So after the whole conversation, I said to her, you know what? You came and sat here and you chatted to me about this, and I actually agree with you. If you were asking me to vote for Pierre Poilievre, that's probably where I will be going with the vote. Don't get me wrong. But you actually scare people. You're not going to convince people to vote if you carry on like that. Don't throw unsubstantiated bullshit out there. Don't swear about it. I just said bullshit, sorry. Anyway, so don't attack people. Don't be nasty. Don't be like extreme. Just, if you have a point, argue the point in a calm and, decent way, and then maybe people will listen. Any which way. So there we go, folks. Politics in Canada. It's not a spring walk, as we would call it. It's like, it's still a little bit crazy, but we'll see where it goes. You all must have a good one. Cheers.